be the Carver woman we sent for?
I would.
Supper's on the family table. 6 o'clock.
I'll take mine at the bunkhouse. It's all the same.
There's a bed made up inside. No sense freezing down by that creek.
I sleep better with the water close.
Now what's a body run from? Sleep out in the cold?
Why won't she come in?
Don't rightly know, child.
The first thing they noticed about Nell Carver was that she wouldn't come in. She came up the wagon road to the bright ranch on a gray March morning, with frost still silvering the ruts, a bedroll and a cook's chest, and a set of knives wrapped in oilcloth. And when Amos Bright opened the door and told her supper would be on the family table at 6, she said, "I'll take mine at the bunkhouse, if it's all the same." And she meant it, the way stone means a thing. She was near 40, broad through the shoulder, with hands that had done more than stir a pot, and eyes that looked at a warm hearth the way a burned child looks at a lamp. She had somewhere she was going. She had nowhere she'd let herself stop. The bright place sat in a fold of Wyoming grass, with a creek running its low edge, and the creek was the whole trouble of it, though nobody said so yet. Amos was a widower in his middle 40s, gone gray before his time, carrying a note on the ranch he couldn't quite pay, and a grief he couldn't quite set down. 2 winters back, the fever had taken his wife, and her chair still stood at the head of the table where nobody sat. In the house with him was his brother's girl, Lila, 6 years old and small for it, orphaned and left to his keeping, a child who watched everything and said almost nothing. They needed a cook because the last one had quit for town wages, and because a working ranch with a sick man's wallet and a motherless child cannot run on one tired man's cooking. Word had come through the freight line that a woman named Carver took seasonal work and asked little. What the word had not said was that she would sleep down by the water in the drafty bunkhouse when there was a good dry room off the kitchen going empty, or that she would refuse, gently and absolutely, every invitation to sit where the family sat. "There's a bed made up inside," Amos said that first night, standing in the cold doorway with the lamp behind him. "No sense you freezing by the creek." "I sleep better with the water close," Nell said. It was the first of her lies, and it was not entirely a lie. She did sleep better where she could hear a creek run, because a creek that she could hear was a creek that had not gone silent and deep and taken something from her, but that was hers to carry, and she carried it down the dark path to the bunkhouse without another word. And Amos stood a while in the door, watching her lantern swing away, and could not have told you why it troubled him so. She earned her keep before the first week was out, and then some. That was the thing about Nell Carver, that a body only saw if they were paying attention, and Amos, worn thin as he was, took a while to pay attention. She cooked, yes, plain and good, and stretched impossibly far. Biscuits and beans and a rabbit made to feed 3 days, a household fed to fullness on almost nothing, on scrapings and cleavings that the last cook would have thrown to the hogs, but cooking was the least of it. There was a heifer down, sick in the far pen the second night, bloated and moaning, and Amos found the lantern already lit out there at 2 in the morning, and Nell on her knees in the muck with her sleeves shoved up, working the animal's side with a sure and knowing hand, talking to it low the way you talk to something you mean to save. By dawn, the heifer was up and nosing hay. Amos asked her where she'd learned that. She said, "Here and there," and turned back to the stove, and that was all he got. The well had been failing since the fall, the water coming up brown and slow, and one afternoon Amos came in from the fence to find Nell down in the well pit with a rope round her waist, and Lila holding the other end, wound twice on the windlass, and Nell shouting up cheerful instruction, and by evening, the water ran clear. She patched the pump leather. She mended the sagging corral rail that had been throwing stock for a month. She doctored Lila's chapped hands with rendered tallow and never once said, "Look what I have done, look what I am worth." She did the work, and let the work be its own witness. and asked for nothing but her pay and her cold bed by the water. The child took to her first. Children know. Lila started following Nell to the barn of a morning, silent as a shadow, and Nell let her carry the small pail and never made her talk. There is a great kindness in not making a grieving child talk, and Lila felt it before she could have named it. One evening, Nell caught the girl staring at the empty chair at the head of the table, the mother's chair that nobody used, and Nell did not say a bright false thing about it. She just set a warm biscuit on the corner of the table nearest the child, and went back to her pans, and Lila ate the biscuit, and something in the house eased by half an inch. Amos watched all this the way a man watches weather he can't read. He had learned to be wary of strangers, the way you learn to be wary of a horse that's thrown you. The country was full of drifters who'd eat your winter down and rob your smokehouse and be gone by spring. But this woman ate less than she made, mended more than she used, and asked for nothing. And a man cannot stay easy in his suspicion of someone who keeps quietly saving him. It rattled Amos more than thieving would have. Thieving, he understood. "You do a sight more than we're paying for," he said to her once, gruff, half accusing. "I do what wants doing," Nell said. "Costs the same to see a thing and fix it, as to see it and let it rot. Costs less, times. Most folks let it rot." "Most folks," she agreed, and that was the end of it. But he began to notice the other thing too, the thing under the competence. She flinched from the creek. For a woman who claimed to sleep better by the water, she never once went down to the low ford where the crossing was. Never let Lila go near the running edge. Watched that child by the water with an attention so fierce it was near to fear. When the spring rains came, and the creek rose muddy and loud, Nell went gray in the face, and worked twice as hard and slept. Amos suspected, not at all. He didn't ask. He had his own grief to keep, and he knew that a person's grief is theirs, and you don't go reaching into it uninvited. The trouble that would break them open came riding up the wagon road on a good horse in a good coat, and it had a name, and the name was Harlan Voss. Voss held the note on the ranch. He was a prosperous man, town respected, a man who lent money and took land, and always stayed on the clean side of the law, because the law was a tool he had learned to hold by the right end. He came that day with papers in a leather case and a smile that never reached above his mustache, and he sat his horse in the yard and did not get down, and he told Amos Bright, in the pleasant voice of a man doing a favor, that there was a matter of the water rights that wanted clearing up. "Your late father filed the ditch claim on this creek," Voss said, tapping the case. "But the filing was never properly perfected, recorded late. There's a window, you see, in the statute. A claim recorded past the season loses its priority to any claim filed clean after. And I've filed clean." He let that sit. "It's nothing personal, Bright. It's the law. Come the dry months, that water's mine to a lot. A ranch without water rights on its own creek. Well, that's a hard note to carry. Might be simplest for everyone. If you were to let the whole place come to me at settlement, I'd be generous." Amos stood in his own yard with his hat in his hands and no answer, because he had no answer, because he did not know the law and could not fight a man who did, and Harlan Voss knew that, and smiled his mustache smile, and turned his good horse and rode away, unhurried, certain, the way a man rides who has already won. Nell had heard it all from the barn door. She said nothing that evening, but Amos saw her at the kitchen table late, the lamp low, the ranch's papers spread before her, the old worn deed, the ditch claim, the dates, and her finger moving down the lines slow and careful, and a look on her face he could not read. A cook did not sit up over land filings. A cook did not know what a perfected claim was. He almost asked her then. He didn't. He would wish, later, that he had, and he would be glad, later, that he hadn't, because some things have to arrive in their own time, or they don't arrive at all. The creek kept rising. It had been a hard winter and a heavy snowpack up in the high country, and when the true thaw came, it came fast. 3 warm days in a row that ran the drifts to water and sent it all down the draws at once. The low creek that ran the Bright place swelled brown and thick and mean, and up around the bend where the banks pinched narrow the ice that hadn't yet gone out, began to pile and lock and jam, shelf on shelf, a gray wall of it damming the flow. And behind a jam, the water backs and rises, and when a jam breaks, it goes all at once. A wall of water and ice let loose down the channel in a breath. Nell knew all this the way she knew the sky. She had lived it. She had stood on a wagon seat 3 winters gone with her boy Samuel beside her. 8 years old. At a ford she'd judged safe. On a day she'd judged wrong. And the water had come up under them faster than judgment. And the wagon had gone over. And she had reached and reached in the brown cold and closed her hand on air where her son had been. They found him a mile down 2 days later. She had run her own homestead before that day. A good one. Hers and her late husband's, and then hers alone after the lung sickness took him. She had known cattle and weather and doctoring and the price of everything. She had been a woman with a hearth and a claim and a future, and she had lost all of it at that ford with her boy, and she had walked away from the land and the house and the very idea that she was owed a warm place to sit. Because what was a hearth to a mother who had let the water take her son? She had been a drifting cook ever since, sleeping by the sound of running water, because to stop hearing it felt like forgetting him, and refusing every table because she believed, in the cold marrow of her, that she had forfeited the right. That is the woman who lifted her head from the pans on the 4th warm afternoon and did not see Lila. The child was not in the house, not in the barn, not in the yard, not at the well. Nell stood in the kitchen door with the wind coming off the risen creek and her heart going to ice. And she called the girl's name once, and the wind took it. And then she saw the small tracks in the mud going down toward the water. Lila had a way of going to the fence above the low bank to watch the ice come apart, because it was the loudest and strangest thing she had ever seen, and no one had told her, because no one had known she needed telling, that a swollen creek behind an ice jam is the most dangerous water in the world. Nell ran. She ran the way she had not let herself run in 3 years, down the muddy path with her skirts hauled up, and she came over the rise and saw it all in one terrible glance. The creek up out of its banks, brown and boiling, the ice jam groaning around the bend, and Lila, out on the little spit of gravel below the old fence, cut off now by a tongue of water that had come up behind her, marooned on a shrinking bar, with the flood rising round her small boots, and the child too frightened to move, and the jam upstream giving its long, grinding cry that meant it was about to go. Amos was in the far pasture. There was no time to fetch him. There was no one. There was only Nell Carver at the top of the bank, looking down at another child about to be taken by the water, and the whole weight of 3 years came down on her at once. And here is the thing that broke her open and made her whole in the same instant. She did not freeze. She had frozen once. She had reached too slow once. And every night since she had lived that slowness again, and she was done. She was done living it, and something in her that had been drowned came up out of the water, gasping and alive. She did not run in blind. That was the old Nell, the cook, the drifter, gone in a heartbeat. This was the woman who had run a homestead, who knew water, who read a creek like scripture. She saw the coil of old fence wire on the post. She saw the fallen cottonwood angled out over the flood. She grabbed the wire and wrapped it twice round the deep-set corner post that would hold, and she went out along the cottonwood trunk on her belly, over the brown roar, the cold spray sheeting up over her, the whole tree shuddering under the push of the water, and she got to the far reach of it, and she was still 10 feet short of the child. "Lila," she called, and this time her voice cut through, low and steady and sure, the voice she used on frightened animals, the voice that had once put a whole household back together an inch at a time. "Lila, look at me. Don't look at the water. Look at me." The child looked at her. "I'm going to throw you this wire. You're going to hold it with both hands, both, tight as your hands go, and you're not going to let go for anything, not for anything in this world. Do you hear me?" The child nodded, water to her knees now. Upstream, the jam let go. Nell heard it break, a crack like the sky splitting. And she knew what was coming down the channel, and she did not have time to be afraid of it. She swung the coil and threw, and the loop of wire fell across the child's arms, and Lila grabbed it, both hands, tight as her hands went, and Nell braced her boots against a fork of the trunk and hauled with everything 3 years of grief had built in her shoulders, and dragged that small body up off the vanishing bar and through the cold water hand over hand, just as the wall of flood and ice came round the bend where the child had stood. They went off the tree together into the shallows on the near side as the crest hit, and Nell got her feet and got the girl up against her chest and up the bank, both of them streaming, the child crying out now, which was good. Crying meant breathing, and Nell held her, and behind them the creek smashed through the place where a 6-year-old had been standing 10 seconds before, and carried the old cottonwood away like a straw. Amos came running from the pasture at the sound, and found them halfway up the path, the two of them soaked and shaking and clinging, and he took the child from Nell's arms, and Nell let her go into his, and then Nell sat straight down in the mud as her legs gave out, and she did not weep for the child she had saved. She wept, at last, after 3 years, for the boy she hadn't. And Amos, holding the living girl, understood, not the whole of it, but enough, and he had the great good sense to say nothing at all, and to sit down in the mud beside her, and to put one hand on her shaking shoulder, and leave it there, while the flood roared past below them, and the sun came out weak and cold over the both of them. That night, for the first time, she came in. She did not mean to. She meant to change into dry things and go back to the bunkhouse, but Lila would not let go of her hand, and Amos said, plain and low, "Sit by the fire, Nell, just till you're dry, that's all." And she was too emptied to fight it, and she sat, not at the table, not in the chair that was nobody's, but on the hearth bench near the flames, and she let the warmth reach her, and she did not run from it, and it was the nearest thing to peace she had felt in 3 years. She told them then, not all of it, not weeping, just quiet and level in the firelight, the shape of the thing, the homestead she'd once run, her husband gone to the lung sickness, and then the ford, and Samuel, and the water. "So I don't sit at tables," she said, "and I don't take the good bed. A woman who lets the creek take her boy doesn't get the hearth after. That's how I've reckoned it." Amos was quiet a long while. Then he said, "You just pulled my Lila out of the same water that took your Samuel. Same water, Nell, and you didn't freeze. Whatever debt you think you're paying, I'd say the water and you are square." She didn't answer. But she didn't leave the fire either, and that was something. She sat there in the firelight with the child asleep at last against her side, and she let the night pass over her slow, and for the first time in 3 years, she did not go down in the dark to lie awake by the running water. She slept where she was, in the warm, with a lamp burning low, and the house held her, and the morning came up gentle over a woman who had begun, without quite knowing it, to thaw. It was 2 days after. The flood dropped, the creek gone quiet and clear in its banks again, the world washed and still, before the other things surfaced, because grief was not all that had come alive in Nell Carver at the water. Her old self had, whole, the homesteader who had filed her own claims and read her own law, and that woman had not forgotten what she'd seen in Amos Bright's papers. They were at the table in the evening, the 3 of them, when she set down her cup and said it. "Voss is wrong." "What?" "Harlan Voss, his water play. He's wrong, and I can prove it, and he doesn't know I can." She turned to Amos, and there was a steadiness in her face he had not seen there before, the look of a woman standing on her own ground at last. "I filed claims of my own, once, on my own creek. I know that statute better than the man does, because I lived by it. Voss says your father's ditch claim was recorded late, past the season, so it lost priority to his clean filing. But I read the dates on your deed. Your father recorded that claim on the 29th of March, and the statute season doesn't close till the 1st of April. It's an old territorial rule. Most folks forget it. The recording season runs to the 1st, not the last day of March. Your father filed clean and in time. Voss's whole claim rests on everyone believing the season closed sooner than it did. It's a bluff, dressed up as law. He's counting on you not knowing the date." Amos stared at her. "You're certain?" "I'm certain," Nell said. "But it can't come from me at a kitchen table. It has to be said where it counts, at the land office, in front of the recorder and the town, out loud, so it's on the record, and he can't quiet it. Voss trades on being respectable. Take the ground out from under him in the open and he's finished. No gun, no fight, just the truth said where witnesses stand. Word had gone round that Voss meant to file his allotment at the land office that Saturday, to make it formal before the dry months, to seal the thing. So on Saturday they went to town. Amos in his one good coat, Lila scrubbed and solemn, and Nell Carver walking in through the land office door, not as a drifting cook, but as the woman she had been before the water, upright and unhurried, the deed and the ditch claim in her own steady hands. Harlan Voss was at the recorder's counter with his leather case and his mustache smile, and half the town was there because half the town always turns out where money changes hands. And when he saw Amos, he prepared his sympathy face, the face of a man about to do a sad and lawful thing. Then Nell stepped up beside Amos, and Voss's face changed, because he did not know her, and men like Voss are never comfortable with a card they haven't counted. "You mean to file an allotment on the Bright Creek," Nell said, not loud, clear, the kind of clear that makes a room go quiet, on the grounds that the original ditch claim lost priority for late recording, that the filing came in past the season. "That's the law, ma'am," Voss said smoothly. "Recorded late. It's a shame, but recorded the 29th of March. Nell laid the deed on the counter, turned so the recorder could see, her finger on the date clean as a bell. And the recording season under the territorial statute closes on the 1st of April, not the last of March, the 1st of April. It's an old provision. It's still on the books. You can send the clerk to fetch the statute this minute and read it to the room." She looked at the recorder, a spectacled man now leaning in over the deed. "Sir, is that date inside the season or outside it?" The room held its breath. The recorder pushed his glasses up and read the deed, and read it again, and went to his shelf and took down the heavy statute book, and turned the pages while nobody breathed, and ran his finger down a column and looked up. "The claim's inside the season," he said. "Recorded the 29th. Season closes the 1st. This filing is clean and holds priority." He looked at Voss over his glasses. "Mr. Voss, your allotment's got nothing to stand on. The Bright water rights are perfected and senior. I can't record against them." You could have heard the dust settle. Harlan Voss opened his mouth and shut it, and looked round at the town that respected him, and saw in their faces the beginning of the thought that he had tried to take a widower's water on a trick, on a bluff, on the hope that a grieving man wouldn't know a date. And that thought, once it starts in a town, does not stop. He gathered his leather case with hands not quite steady, and he said something about a clerical misunderstanding, and he left the land office a smaller man than he'd walked in. And no gun had been drawn, and no blow had been struck, and a woman who slept by the creek had beaten him with nothing but a date she alone had troubled to read. Outside, in the bright, cold street, Amos Bright turned to Nell, and for a long moment he had no words at all. Lila had hold of Nell's hand again, and Nell was looking at the mountains the way she looked at everything now, like a person deciding whether she was allowed to want a thing. "You saved my ranch," Amos said, "after you saved my girl. And you did both like it was nothing, like it was just the day's work. And you're fixing to shoulder your bedroll and drift on to the next place, same as always, aren't you?" "That's the arrangement," Nell said quietly. "Then I'd ask you to unmake it," Amos said. "With me." He took his hat off. A frontier man takes his hat off for two things, and this was the second. "I'm not offering you wages, Nell. I've offered you wages and you take too little of them anyhow. I'm offering you the other thing, the chair, the hearth, a place. You've been running so long from a debt you don't even owe, hearing that water in the dark so you won't forget your boy. But you won't forget him, Nell. Nobody who loved a child forgets. You can remember Samuel at a warm table just as true as you can remember him in a cold bunkhouse, and it'll hurt just the same and heal a sight better. Lila's chosen you. I've chosen you, if you'll have an old, worn man and a mortgaged place. You've spent 3 years believing you forfeited the right to somewhere to stop." He held out his hand. "Stop here. Come in." Nell Carver stood in the street with the wind off the mountains, and a child's hand in hers, and she thought of the ford, and the wagon, and the reach into the cold that came too slow. And she thought of the tree over the flood, and the wire in the child's hands. and the reach that this time came in time. Same water, and her and the water, at last, were square. That evening, when they came back up the wagon road to the ranch in the long gold light, Nell did not go down the dark path to the bunkhouse by the creek. She walked up the porch steps behind Amos and Lila. She stood a moment in the doorway, the way she had stood there her first morning, looking at the warm hearth like a burned child looks at a lamp. But this time she did not turn away. This time she stepped over the sill, into the light and the wood smoke and the smell of the supper she had left banked on the stove, and she crossed the room, and she sat down, not on the hearth bench, not in a corner, but at the table, at the head of it, in the chair that had stood empty 2 long winters, and no one told her she couldn't, because it was hers now, because a house is not made whole by the one who is gone, but by the one brave enough to sit back down and stay. Lila climbed up beside her. Amos set out 3 plates, and outside in the dark the creek ran on the way it always would, the way it always had, carrying its griefs and its thaws down out of the high country. But Nell Carver did not need to hear it anymore to remember her boy. She would remember him here, in the warm, with living hands to hold, and a place that was her own. She had spent 3 years believing she deserved nowhere to stop. It turned out the deserving was never the question. The staying was, and she stayed.